I'll just do it. As we'll be starting shortly, may I kindly request all delegates to take their seats and ensure that their mobile phones are set to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation.
Excellencies, delegates, a very good morning to you all. I hope you had a restful evening and are ready for another productive and inspiring day as we continue our discussions on the second day of the third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and Pacific. It is my great pleasure to take over the role of the chair for this morning. Before we continue, agenda item 3, building resilient and inclusive civil registration and vital statistics systems in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, it is my pleasure to report on behalf of the Bureau on the status of credentials of representatives of members to the Third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific in accordance with Rule 12 of the Rules of Procedure of the Commission. The chair and the vice chairs of the Third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific examined the credentials of representatives of 40 member states, submitted in accordance with Rule 11 of the Rules of Procedure of the Commission, and found them to be in order. The Bureau decided to defer any action on the credentials pertaining to the representatives of Myanmar at the Third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific, pending a decision by the General Assembly on the representation of Myanmar and in line with the General Assembly Resolution 3965 of 14 December 1950, acknowledging the report of the Credentials Committee of the General Assembly at its 79th session. May I take this that it is the wish of the conference to take note of the report of the chair and vice chairs? I see no objections. It is so decided. We will now continue with agenda item 3. To begin today's session, and before we continue with the statements, We will start with a panel discussion on inclusive CRVS systems in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This session will showcase good practices and highlight progress made in CRVS inequality assessments across the region. It will explore how at-risk populations can be identified through inequality assessments and how inclusive CRVS system play a vital role in advancing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This session will be moderated by Mr. Iori Kato, Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific from the International Organization for Migration, or IOM, and he will be joined by speakers from Fiji, Fergana Valley Lawyers Without Borders, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Chulalongkorn University. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, eminent participants, guests, dear colleagues and friends. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this very important panel discussion on inclusive civil registration and vital statistics systems, a topic that lies at the heart of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the principles of leaving no one behind. I'd like to thank our co-organizers, ESCAP, UNFPA, UNICEF, UNHCR, and my own organization, IOM, for the joint leadership in this collective effort. Civil registration is a matter of dignity, identity, and human rights. It is a foundation for legal identity which enables access to education, healthcare, social protection, and political participation. And yet, we are reminded today that millions of people across Asia and the Pacific, especially women and girls, people with disabilities, migrants, refugees, stateless persons, and other marginalized persons groups, they remain invisible and excluded from basic rights and services simply because their birth, marriages, and death have never been officially recorded. So distinguished delegates, this panel brings together diverse voices, government leaders, civil society advocates, development partners with each distinct perspectives and experiences. And I have the honor of introducing each of these distinguished panel members to you. Mr. Kemeli Naikama is the Chief Executive of the Fiji Bureau of Statistics. Mr. Naikama is a career civil servant since 1991, my very old colleague from Fiji, having worked at the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Strategic Planning and National Development, in addition to the Bureau of Statistics. Mr. Jaya Narayan Acharya is the Honorable Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Home Affairs of Nepal. Mr. Acharya brings extensive experience in public administration and governance, including on civil registration in his own country, Nepal, and beyond. Mr. Azizbek Ashraf is a human rights lawyer and the executive director of the Fergana Valley Lawyers Without Borders in Kyrgyzstan. A former stateless person himself, Mr. Ashraf has led efforts that helped over 13,000 stateless persons to gain citizenship, making Kyrgyzstan the first country to officially eliminate statelessness. Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga is a distinguished senior health administrator who is currently acting as an Honorable Additional Secretary for Public Health Services at the Ministry of Health of Sri Lanka. Dr. Shriprapa Pechalamesri is a renowned human rights scholar and a lecturer at the Chulalongkorn University's Faculty of Law. Dr. Pechalamesri extensive research spans citizenship, migration, statelessness, and regional human rights mechanism in Southeast Asia. So with your permission, in the first round of opening question, I'd like to ask one same question to all the 5 esteemed panelists and ask each of you to respond in 3 minutes. And then I'm very infamous for bad time management. So I'm going to make a plea to you to consider limiting your statement in 3 minutes. The same question to you is as follows. What does an inclusive CRVS system mean in your country? And why is that important for the achievement of the SDGs? I'd like to start with Mr. Ken Naikama from Fiji. 3 minutes, please, Mr. Naikama.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Yorison. How it is so important and critical for us here in Fiji, I'll divide that into 3 major points. How robustness we want our CRVS system. Secondly, the kind of approach that we wish to undertake. And thirdly, the available resources that we do have. On the how robust that we want our CRVS system, we look at many things that will assist us in having such a system put in place. One, the planning and preparation towards the robustness of the system. Secondly, the environment that we have access, that is available to us as we tender upon the political landscape, the data sources, the stakeholders to be involved, whether they're from government, from development partners, from international agencies that are related to CRVS. We tend to also take into consideration the gaps, the strength, the weaknesses, and lastly, on the commitments that we wish to undertake, or the commitments that Fiji had committed itself into, whether it's global, regional, or national. Other areas that we tend to measure how robustness we intend to move into is how we're going to approach the implementation, and so as well as the monitoring and evaluation, how we're going to continuously monitor our CRVS system so that it remains robust and inclusive. And lastly, the need to review the process for future improvement, as well as further strengthening of the CRVS system. The second factor that we take into consideration, the way that we are going to approach. Strategically, we have to look for a good leader that can champion the course forward. Also take into consideration establishing a CRVS steering committee and the need to collaborate, engage through with other government agencies and stakeholders so that they are aware and understand the whole CRVS system that we need to put in place. Through continuous workshop, this would be helping them to better understand the key roles that they do have and how they should relate themselves in terms of making data available and the opportunity of share the information that they do have as administrative source data, and understanding each other as key stakeholders in terms of their roles, their weakness, as I've mentioned, and the areas of responsibility. In terms of the last factor we take into consideration is the resources available to us. as part of government agency, we do take note the limitation in terms of what is provided to each government agencies. For a statistical agency, though we would have proposed a much bigger budget size to conduct statistical activities. However, due to competing priorities of government, budget provisions are always limited to that extent. So we tend to look at other avenues in order to assist us in terms of this kind of work, which is critical and important. We tend to look at the international agencies surrounding us, either bilateral or multilateral, in order to assist us. I wanted to share with us, as we had undertaken those three factors, some of the achievements that we have achieved through addressing the three factors. One, we have managed to provide reports on vital statistics report on birth dated from 2016 to 2019, on death from the Ministry of Health and Medical Services from the year 2016 to 2021. And just last Monday, we released statistics on marriage. Secondly, birth and registration coverage have increased and have estimated over to about 90%. The Fiji, as a country, amongst the first country to undertake in-depth quantitative inequality assessment of its CRVS system, to examine the disparities in birth and death registration by sex, by age, by ethnicity, and mother's marital status. The finding of such report are utilized for ongoing research and shaping policy interventions, and to reduce and reducing registration gaps amongst different population groups. In terms of leadership, you may note that Fiji in this third ministerial conference have been well represented. We have with us our Honorable Minister for Justice, the acting Attorney General. Yesterday, you have nominated our Vice Chairperson on the CRVS Committee, ESCAP CRVS Committee, the Permanent Secretary for Justice, His Excellency, the Fiji Ambassador to Malaysia, and his counselor, and government representatives from the Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, and the Bureau of Statistics. These clearly illustrate that we've managed to operate and link up through availing data for CRVS analysis and other analytical work. In terms of resources, achievement in terms of resources, we have managed to receive huge assistance from Vital Strategies in terms of assisting us with reports on civil registration processes. Our presence in this workshop is a cumulative effort or consolidated effort by donor agencies through ESCAP, UNFPA, UNICEF, and the regional SPC in supporting the delegation for Fiji to attend to this conference. And furthermore, least but not last, the future development work for our third NVR under SDG Goals 3, ensuring healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. These are some of the achievements, Mr. Moderator, that we have achieved through those three critical factors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naikama from Fiji, pointing to the importance of the robustness of the scope of the CRVS system, the importance of political will, and also the domestic resource allocations enough to ensure the quality of the implementation, and also sharing both challenges and the achievements from the Republic of Fiji. With your permission, I'd like to move on to the case from NEPA. Joint Secretary, Mr. Acharya, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Namaste. Thank you for your question as well. Exactly what other nation communities know. The inclusiveness is in the Nepalese context. It is very important for us. We have much diversity in terms of geography, in terms of development, like this. So the context of Nepal inclusive CRBS is much important to achieve, even though SDGs or national development as well. As others, the CRVS, inclusive CRVS is everyone should be counted, is counted in the national registration system and management. And equally, it is important that to ensure all the rights like political rights, environmental rights, social rights, cultural rights, to achieve the SDGs and development approach as well. Then we have, it is important for Nepal as well. And on the basis of the information, then we can make policy, government can intervene where the government can ensure its individual's right to be protected as the constitution governs, as the law governs, as the policy governs. That's why all the individuals should be counted and all the individuals should be get in a picture, either achievement of SDGs or national development. So it is important and inclusiveness. And currently, Nepal, after the new constitution, Nepal is making much inclusive political system, much inclusive economic system, much inclusive social and cultural system as well. And for the environmental protection, we have much initiations to protect the diversity, protect the planet. And you know that Nepal is the beautiful country with Mount Everest, Himalaya. So making it more resilient, making it more inclusive, all the policies, all the development approaches are reformed. So we can achieve the development goal by 2030 as well with the inclusive development, inclusiveness with the CRBs. So again, I would like to focus on that. Inclusive CRBs is all the individuals are counted in and get into a picture. That's thank you.
Thank you so much, Joint Secretary Mr. Acharya, also pointing to the need to count in everyone in the endeavor of also not only the SDG achievement as a whole, but also to ensure the community resilience is continue to be a strength. Thank you so much for that point. I'd like to then move on to Mr. Ashraf from Kyrgyzstan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Good morning, dear delegates. In our context across the Central Asia, an inclusive civil rights and vital statistics systems mean no one is left out. First of all, it means that every child is registered at birth, regardless of their parents' legal status, nationality, or background. It also means that people who were previously undocumented can access to the civil registry services and get documents they need. For example, for people who are stateless or at the risk of stateless, it's vital and especially important. So, for example, if you don't have birth certificate, you cannot prove who you are. When you cannot prove who you are, you may be excluded from the healthcare, education, work, even from the recognition as a citizen in a country. So the inclusive CRVS systems helps to prevent it. So it's not just, in our approach, it's not just an administrative tool. It's I would say it's a gateway or door for human rights, identity, and dignity for the people. About SDGs, when CRVS systems inclusive, it can we can achieve many SDGs like no poverty, access to education, legal identity. We can Also, we can protect vulnerable children, for example. We can reduce inequality. We can ensure access to civil services and social protection. Also, we can build trust between the people and states. In the end, CRVS systems, it's not about individuals, right? It's not only about, it's not helps only individuals, it helps governments too by improving, for example, population data, strengthening planning, reducing risks of exclusion and insecurity. So in our region, this work is not just technical. It's I would say transformational. I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashraf. I like the point you made last. This is not about the number. This is transformational. And then having the inclusive CRVS is a gateway of a recognition of who you are in a given country. But it's not for the individual, but also for the state. Thank you so much for that very noble point. I'd like to, with your permission, move to the case of Sri Lanka from Dr. Sumatanga, Assistant Secretary. Over to you.
Thank you very much, first of all, for gracious introduction. And it has been pleasure always to talk about what we do in our country. Today, we are supposed to talk about CRVS systems, what we do in Sri Lanka. CRVS systems considered as a very strong, most reliable source of statistics on births, migration, death, cause of death, and also life expectancy. But the performance of CRVS systems heavily depends on the quality of data produced. So in view of coverage, availability, and timeliness. So when it comes to quantitative indicators, Sri Lanka is doing well. Good coverage. When you take births, deaths, almost 100%. But when it comes to quality, it was questionable. That is why now before 5 years, when you take CRVS index, performance index, if you rate from 1 to 5, from worst to best, we were at second level, but now after enormous interventions by all relevant stakeholders, we have come to the level of 4, good indicator. So this shows the coordinated action. Because this subject, as many subjects, goes beyond the boundaries of one sector. So it involves health, Register General, census and statistics, justice, public administration, and of course, general public. So we have formed a National Steering Committee on Data for Health. We don't say CRVS because we public health persons, we take decisions on evidence. So for us, it's very important that we take rational decisions appropriately, especially within the context of low resource setting, how we allocate and how we prioritize. In our country, Sri Lanka is determined to prevent all the preventable deaths. So that's why this strong CRVS is crucial for us. I want to talk a little about how we have done our progress so far. And first of all, because health sector takes the lead to bring quality into the CRVS systems, first we analyzed our formats. Those were outdated. So we started upgrading all the formats for death declarations, whether it is in the hospitals, whether it is in the community, but we upgraded all the formats as per the WHO recommendations. And also, we know that some deaths are, when it is suspect, the cause of death, it goes for coroner's purview. So that is also that we had to strengthen. The format was on from colonial era. So that also is done. And Sri Lanka's life expectancy is good, considers good in the region, and about 55% only happening in the institutions, that means in the hospitals, but about 45% of deaths occur in the community. So sometimes the death declaration is done by the village headman. So as we have done all other death declaration by doctors, by coroners, and general practitioners, now it's the time for Sri Lanka to upgrade the death declaration by village headman. So we are heading towards that. Having reached many quantitative indicators, in fact, we are leading in the region. Now we are concentrating on quality. A little bit of the relation of CRVS and SDG. It's important because we know that CRVS systems are essential for monitoring progress towards SDG, and the well-functioning CRVS system can be used to track 12 out of 17 SDGs. So it is very important that we strengthen CRVS system. And also, much spoken this legal identity. Why proof of legal identity is important? It will enable access to education, public services, including health care and social protection. Sri Lanka's health system is free of charge to the customer. So state-run health sector is prevailing, and it's very important that your legal identity is proof. And also, I'm coming to the statistics. CRVS statistics serve as a denominator for a wide range of population-based targets, like maternal mortality, whether it's infant mortality, whether it's child mortality. Not only that, even non-communicable disease prevalence rates and road traffic injuries being that is the prime cause for hospitalization in my country. So for all these indicators, depending on CRVS system, because that provides the denominator. And I'm coming to the last point. Personally and professionally, it is important to me as health administrator at policy level, because we need timely data to take decisions. So that where we are lacking, we have a gap between the publication and the current situation. So we are going to improve together with all the stakeholders in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Acting Additional Secretary Dr. Somatunga, to point out that the inclusive CRBS is a foundation of the all member states effectively reporting back on the SDG achievement. But not only that, you also talked about the quality, not just data, but the quality of data, which it requires both the horizontal coordination across many different ministries, but also the vertical integration coordination from the central to the local government. So this whole of government approach is needed. And in that sense, the case of Sri Lanka, of the National Steering Committee, that kind of endeavor, in this case it's on health, but I think that other member states can also, there's something that we can learn from the case of Sri Lanka. We'd like to move to the case of academia, represented from Thailand, Dr. Pechalemsri. We are going to ask you the same question in first round. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there are two parts of the question. I will be addressing the first one from the Thai context, and the second one a bit more general. What does it mean by an inclusive CRVS system in the Thai context. An inclusive CRVS system for me and for Thailand in the Thai context mean not only no one is left behind, but everybody living on the Thai soil, Thai and non-Thai, is visible in the eyes of the law and recognized by law as a person. And I think this is extremely important, regardless of their status, I would add. For the second part of the question, actually, if we look at the goal 16, we can see that of SDG, we can see that it sets a rather high bar for inclusivity. I was looking at many studies and I found one which I think very interesting and relevant to our panel, which is the study of the Center of Excellence for CRVS System, which identified 4 ways how CRVS contributes to achieving SDG. And the 4 ways include, the first one, reaching the goals set out in SDG 16.9 in its own right. And I think that is quite clear. And these include SDG 17, 18, and SDG 17.19 as well. And the second one, empowering individuals, which refer to target 3.8, actually universal health coverage, 5.3, eliminating harmful practices, and 16.2, ending abuses and exploitation, I would add. The third one is actually informing policies, since the CRVS system generates or expect at least to generate reliable, timely, and disaggregated data for policymakers to use. And this helped the government to achieving many other targets. And the last point is actually track progress, as reliable and timely data will actually contribute to measuring progress in some areas, such as ensuring access to education for girls and boys, specified in target 4.1. And in fact, I think ensuring CRVS for everybody means that countries achieve many goals set out by SDG, and this is why CRVS is so important.
Thank you so much also for the point that for the universal health coverage to be truly universal, everybody needs to be recognized before the eyes of the law because of the status. And thank you also for pointing out that it also cuts across many different SDGs when we're talking about the inclusive SRVS. I think you would agree with me, Excellency delegates, distinguished delegates, that although the distinguished panelists may come from the different countries, they also have a similar sort of passion towards the quality of the data, and also their sense of challenges, opportunities. There seems to be areas of lots of conversion. Well, thank you so much for that contribution in the first round of questions. In the second round of questions, I would like to ask each of you distinguished speakers a different question, and again, kindly ask you to limit your response to within 3 minutes, if that's all possible. The first question, again, is to Mr. Kem Naikama from Fiji. And my question to you on behalf of the co-organizers is as follows. The latest data from Fiji indicates that there has been an improvement in timely birth registration for children under 1, but it still shows disparities, particularly among certain groups of mothers, like teenagers and single mothers. In this context, Mr. Naikama, what specific interventions has Fiji found to be most effective in reaching these vulnerable populations? And how do you measure the impact of these efforts beyond just the completeness of registration? Mr. Naikama, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Um, First of all, before responding to the question, we need to understand the composition of Fiji. Fiji is a small island development state. It's part of the Pacific and has around 330 islands, 300 of which are occupied. And you mentioned about the statistics with regards to teenage and single mothers and the specific intervention that is needed and required for such vulnerable population. Um, these statistics, as you rightly mentioned, is part of the inequality assessment report. What we had observed that there is a slight disparity in birth registration completeness by sex of the child, with a marginal preference for registering boys. However, we found the consistent increasing trend in terms of registration with age for both boys and girls. When we examine birth registration completeness by age 1 based on mother's age and marital status, there was no consistent trend across age groups within each marital status category. What we observed that there was some evidence that married mothers were more likely to register the births of their children compared to single mothers across all age groups. To focus on the type of specific interventions, one I wish to mention was the incentives to register newborn babies. It was done by the Fiji government way back in the year 2000 to 2001. This led to a positive impact in the registration of babies, particularly for the indigenous community. The number of registration had increased dramatically. However, such incentives had ceased. So through the CRVS committee, there's a proposal to reintroduce such initiatives. Thus, the need to have a champion on our side through the Honorable Minister for Justice to be the voice of the CRVS committee to submit such initiative or proposal to government or on behalf of the CRVS committee. Secondly, what the Ministry of Justice have done is place or locate a birth, death, and marriage personnel in one of the Fiji's largest hospital to provide on-site registration services. For the vulnerable population, especially for rural and single mothers, what we have done is to decentralize registration process through government and semi-government agencies, such as postal agencies located in rural areas and outer islands. This is currently happening as I speak. There are other initiatives or interventions that are still on the pipeline, one of which we are just we were just sharing in our meeting last week with the Honorable Minister, is to increase the stakeholder membership of the CRVS committee to include other government and non-government agencies so that they can fully understand and appreciate the need to register babies, address the vulnerable population, especially the rural and single mothers, and also to strengthen the robustness of the CRVS system. Having mentioned that, There are also NGOs and CSOs, such as the Fiji Council of Social Services, which have district council social services units that can act as agents to advocate and assist in encouraging mothers to register their babies. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kim and Naikama, for reminding all of us of the particular challenges faced by the small island developing states, as in the case of Fiji and many other Pacific and other member states present here. But also, we are being also encouraged by your examples of as to how to defy a distance by some of the very creative and innovative approach. Thank you so much, Mr. Naikama. Again, I would like to go to Joint Secretary, Mr. Acharya. Our question to you, sir, is that we understand that Nepal conducted an inequality assessment in 2024, and the report highlights gaps in the civil registration system, particularly in terms of gender equality, diversity, and social inclusion. Based on the findings, could you share your perspective on how these systematic inequalities manifest in civil registration processes, and what practical steps can or should be taken to ensure that the civil registration system becomes more inclusive? What's yours?
Thank you. Exactly, we have to find out the reason why the situation is unequal. There are lots of reasons behind that. Geographically, we have diversity, you know, the Everest to lowland. Then, according to the geography, there are difficulties to get access in the system. Like similarly, we have lots of religions and cultures. We have different kinds of cultures, traditions, and the belief. There is also inequality, disparities. On the basis of the inequality assessment, we can say that we have some gaps, and we have to fulfill the gaps, and we need to take all the people in the common picture. So, for example, the male and female ratio is like 51% male, female, and 49% female are in Nepal, our current census says. But the birth registration is 41% female and almost 52% male. Means the ratio between census data and the birth registration of male and female are unequal. So to fulfill the gap, government of Nepal has taken lots of initiatives. Like if on the basis of remote area, for their accessibility, government have taken initiatives that they can get social security at the age of 60, rather than other region can get the old age benefits only after 70. So it means they can get access in the national system, like vital registration system. Secondly, for the birth registration empowerment, like girls can get schooling benefits, like they have some benefits like monetary or other kinds of incentives. That's why they can get into access to school and registration as well. And for the registration, schooling, government of Nepal has the initiative that all child should have birth registration. Then after that only they can get access in the school. Means it's important to get register and schooling both. So all these gaps can be fulfilled by this. And for the female registration, the government have taken an initiative that government women can have some taxes waiving to get property, like 20% discount for the female if they register any property on their name. Then these kind of incentives can fulfill the gap, and all the gender and geographic, all these gaps we found can get reduced and achieve the vital registration system goals by 2030. And even to ensure all these rights, government have changed all these policies for the equal assessment access in government benefits, and incentivize them again so that we can achieve the overall our commitment to the global arena. And I again can share like lots of social security benefits are introduced this time. I told age-wise, gender-wise, caste-wise, ethnicity-wise, religion-wise, and region-wise. These benefits can really incentivize the people and they get into the picture. That's Nepal practice and it's a good initiative. That's why the current registration, birth registration ratio is much higher. Like if we compare the 20 years data, then 35% was only in 2006. Currently, 74% birth registration is in Nepal. That's why it's improving and getting better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acharya, for again reminding us that not only the island countries, there are many member states in this region where you have a lot of hard-to-reach areas, and then you're also resource constrained, and yet you have to promote the completeness of the registration. And you talked of the, as was pointed out by Mr. Naikama, to the importance of incentivization within the very limited fiscal space. So I think it's kind of force all of us to resort of a creativity in innovative approach by linking different programs and programs, and then social security as a benefits with the need to complete the civil registration. Thank you so much for that example from Nepal. I would like to move to Mr. Ashraf. Our question to you is as follows. You have helped tens of thousands of formerly stateless people to obtain citizenship. What role did civil registration play in making that possible? And from your experience, what should governments do to ensure that statelessness is prevented and resolved through CRVS systems? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. In our work across Central Asia, especially in Kyrgyz Republic, the civil registration played the key role. It was a key step to work in resolving statelessness in our country. We know in many cases people never registered at birth. In post-Soviet countries, it was one challenge in common. So after the collapse of Soviet Union, many people left with unrecognized or invalid documents. So, and parents without proper valid documents couldn't register their children, and it's created a dangerous circle. One generation with lack of documentation pass it to next. So putting the children at the risk of statelessness from the moment of their birth. In our country, together with our government, civil society organizations, with the partnership with international organizations, especially UNHCR, we conducted a nationwide campaign on registration, identification and registration of stateless people within the country. So in this, our government, with the political will, made the amendments into the national legislation, which allows everyone, even its citizen or migrant, even its illegal migrant, allow to register their children. Through our mobile teams, we helped people to restore, reconstruct their legal status, register late births, and replies expired or missing documents. And these civil documents laid like a foundation for acquiring nationality for them. So civil registration was not just an administrative step. It was the door to legal identity, rights, and dignity. And I can say that every third resolved case in the world last decade was achieved in our Central Asian region. So it may say the very good achievement, I can say, yeah. Without it, thousands would be stateless today. So what can governments do? First, ensure universal access to birth registration for every child, regardless of their parents' legal status. It's very important. Second, remove legal and practical obstacles, including allowing registration even when parents have expired or foreign documents. Third, proactively reach those left behind with mobile units, flexible procedures, and close partnership with the civil society. And importantly, that to link SRVR systems with the nationality procedures and legal identity procedures. Because birth certificate should not just record, it should lead to the recognition as a citizen. Now in our region, we have a clear platform for to guide this work. It's a Ashgabat Declaration on Ending Statelessness in Central Asia, which adopted in November 2024 last year at the Regional Statelessness Conference on Ending Statelessness, hosted by Government of Turkmenistan and UNHCR. The declaration outlines 8 strategic directions, including strengthen civil registration and eliminating legal gaps to lead to statelessness. This regional commitment aligns closely with the new global alliance on ending statelessness, and together they give us a strong framework to move forward cooperatively and with the purpose. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asher, for highlighting the importance of the partnership between the government and civil society to complete this sort of a whole of nation endeavor for the CRVS system to make it as complete as possible. The next question I'd like to pose to Dr. Samatunga from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has been a pioneer in civil registration and vital statistics, for instance, by establishing a comprehensive one registry system and also launching and implementing a migration health policy that integrates migrant inclusive governance. What strategies do you envision for further enhancing the inclusion of vulnerable populations, including migrants, within border social protection, health, and public service frameworks? Furthermore, what key insights can be derived from your experience to assist other member states in developing inclusive and equitable policies that ensure no one is marginalized? Over to you.
Yes, we developed our migration health policy in 2013. It's a multi-sectoral, multidimensional, cross-cutting direction towards comprehensive coverage of all the aspects of migration. Our guiding principles are leaving no one behind and also leaving no one marginalized. Our migration dynamics can be categorized into 3 main typologies: outbound migrants, internal migrants, and inbound migrants. Our government taking another step forward. We are looking after even the families of outbound migrants. Having eliminated many diseases, we are determined to maintain our status. So, irrespective of the status, the same services access to healthcare especially is given to all the migrants. Especially when I take the example of malaria, we are a malaria-free country. We want to maintain the prevention of reintroduction of malaria phase. So though the initial health assessment has a cost, but certain specific services are given free of charge to migrants, like detection, treatment, and prophylaxis of malaria. And even for TB, tuberculosis, control, and HIV/AIDS, the same package given to the Sri Lankan citizen is offered to the migrants as well. So our government is offering that very graciously, happily, and in wise manner, because we want to maintain our services. And we expect the same passion from other countries to our regarding our outbound migrants as well. Sometimes they lack services, access to healthcare, especially HIV/AIDS, because our principle is no one leaving behind. So we expect the same passion, and we have arrangements with the foreign missions, and we do monitoring our migrants, because about the negative consequences of migration. Also, there are many positive effects. We're going for better opportunities, but whether they have access to healthcare is our concern. So, because we believe in the concept that no one is safe until everyone is safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the motto, no one is safe until everyone is safe. I think what you shared with us is a stark reminder for all of us that many of the health issues, they don't discriminate people. And then also you talked about the sort of migration pattern that many of the member states in this floor also have. You have both inbound, outbound, and also domestic people of movement. And then if we would like to leave no one behind or leave no one marginalized, it's important to count everybody in your system and program. Thank you so much for the reminder. Last question in the second round, I'd like to go to Dr. Pechalamesri. How can national and international human rights instruments and frameworks be used effectively to create more inclusive CRBS systems? Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you for the question. I would like to emphasize here that the rights of everyone to recognition everywhere as a person before the law was enshrined by the UDHR. And this was, Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And this was further articulated in legally binding international human rights instruments, especially International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. At the regional level, in this case in ASEAN, although the document is not legally binding, the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration in General Principles Point 3 make it clearly that every person has the right of recognition everywhere as a person before the law. At national level, the Thai Civil Registration Law of 1991, amended in 2008 and 2019, is actually quite open, as registration of birth include those who were born on the Thai soil, as I said earlier, regardless of their legal status. And this law guarantees universal birth registration in Thailand. However, I'm not saying that implementation is not challenging. The challenge is there. Then how can all these instruments be used effectively? And I think this is the key of of the whole question. I think there are at least 4 ways to do, and this is what we have tested in Thailand. And when I said tested, I am referring to our current research and the previous research that we have been doing so far. The first one is actually making sure that state parties to relevant international laws are fully committed to their obligations, that the relevant domestic laws are in line with international laws. The second, as I said, based on our current research, a project on improving legal status of hard-to-reach population, as well as the pilot project on zero registration in Thailand conducted in 2020. We identify a number of challenges such as lack of awareness of the importance of zero registration, inadequate manpower at local registrar, communications and language barriers. These are all practical challenges that we have been facing so far. From legal perspective, there is still a confusion, especially in the case of Thailand, a confusion between civil registration law and nationality law, which are actually separate despite the link. Too many legislations that exist at different levels, different hierarchies, which actually confuse local registrar who could not keep pace with changing legislation. And this confusion needs to be addressed properly through legal literacy among officers, CSO, and population themselves. The third one is actually ensuring that there will be no loopholes that lead to potential bribery and corruption. And fourth, in countries where national legislation, regardless of regarding civil registration, is still discriminatory against some groups, there is a need for improvement and amendment to ensure, again, I talk about universal civil registration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pechalmasri, to point to the need for the domestic law to reflect relevant international covenants, international human rights convention, but also talked about both the domestic case, but also the multi-country sort of approach, like in the case of ASEAN, and also what kind of roles that academia can play in terms of awareness vis-a-vis the lawmakers and policymakers, and then also research can enrich the domestic efforts on the civil registration. But also you also talked about the challenge related to the implementation. It's one thing to have a law or policy, but also it's very important to make sure that those laws and policies are implemented with quality. With this second round of questions, I would like to propose we open up the floor for any question and answers and comments from the distinguished delegates and participants. And then I would like to see if anybody here would like to take the floor to make comments or ask any specific questions on any of the panel members' intervention. And in case you have a specific question to a specific member of the panel, I'd like you to kindly indicate who your questions is directed. So with your permission, I'd like to open up the floor a little bit to accommodate any comments, feedback, or questions. We see a hand from the distinct delegates from United Kingdom. So we start from the UK delegation and then followed by any delegates who wish to speak. The distinct delegates from the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank the previous speaker for raising the point of the importance of distinguishing between civil registration and nationality in the legal sense. And that was something that came up a lot in our negotiations on this draft resolution when it was a draft. And I thank you for raising that today. And I think that's something that we all need to be aware of and factor into our negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates from the United Kingdom. Dr. Pecharamsri, would you like to elaborate a little bit as to the linkage or nexus between the two regimes?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if I got it correctly, but at least in the case of Thailand, as I said, we have two separate laws. One is the registration law, another one is nationality law. Of course, this might not be the case of many other countries where the registration law may be included in nationality law because of the link, as I said. These two separate laws leads to not only confusion, but also discrimination in terms of practice, especially officers most of the time, or in many cases, they are having in mind or they think that once, for example, the children are registered at birth, they will be automatically, granted nationality, which is not the case. There are conditions for it. The second challenge that we found in the research, not only the confusion, but also the resistance, from officers, especially registrar. In the case of Thailand, when they are thinking that, especially when the Registration Act is open for Thai and non-Thai, regardless of their status, this is even more serious in the sense that in their thinking, why at all people without legal status can get access to the registration and in the long run to nationality. So you got a sense of nationalism here, in one way or another. And the last one, I would say from based on our research, that in order for people to get access to the registration, of course, they need to, they don't need to prove that, they need to prove that they were born in Thailand. These are quite problematic for filings who are actually, who could not identify who are their parents. But when it comes to the right to nationality or even permanent residence, there is a requirement of so many documents. So wills, entering into seal registration is not that difficult, but it's not easy. But it's much more difficult to get access to nationality, which is the highest right in terms of legal status. I'm not quite sure if I addressed your question correctly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pecharamsri. Let us see if there's any other delegate who wish to take the floor. Perhaps, no. If that is the case, with your permission, I would like to ask you the final set of questions. The difficulty is that I'm going to ask you to answer in one word or two to describe the action needed looking forward. So my question, our last question to you, all of you, the same question. Looking ahead, what one priority action would you recommend for member state governments here in order to establish and maintain more inclusive CRVS systems by 2030? So if one priority action could you recommend, I'm going to like to ask each and one of you. I'd like to again start by Mr. Kem Naikama from Fiji. What one priority action would you recommend?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Since you only asking for one, I'll just stick to the one. I would say CRVS reports with supplementary policy briefs for informed decision makers. For the sole reason that these policy briefs be advocacy documents to the decision makers, also provide opportunities for decision makers to look at intervention pathways to address CRVS, and also on the flip side to assist the policymakers redesign the registration processes through their leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naikama. One thing to have a comprehensive report, but the suggestion and proposal is to accompany it with a list of actionable policy action and the resource allocation. Thank you so much for that point. Then I would like to go to Joint Secretary, Mr. Acharya. One priority action that you would recommend.
Okay, thank you. In our context, we have to focus one more like step for accessibility. I already explained. People who live in the Everest region, then they have really difficulty to get access either digitally or physically as well. That's why we have to make it more accessible in terms of currently we government of Nepal has planned to get access of the people who live behind. Then they can get like a registration from everywhere where they are. And after the our constitution, we have 6,743 ward register ward governments. They can register everywhere. They have access of the people, local government. That's what decentralizing all the activities and making accessibility of the people are the most important for the inclusive and the achieving the target of CRBS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joint Secretary Mr. Acharya, to highlight the importance of ensuring the access to the CRBS system. Next, I'd like to go to Mr. Ashraf. One priority action that you could recommend.
Thank you. Living in a world of bureaucracy and formalities, yeah? If I had to choose only one priority, it would be this for sure. Register every child at birth, regardless parents' status or background. So this means removing all legal barriers, ending discriminatory policies, and making sure registration for free, simple, flexible, accessible for everyone and everywhere. Because birth certificate nowadays is not only just a record, not only keep people or governments, persons in migration radar, it's right to be seen, to be counted, to be protected, and finally, it's a right to have a right. Yep. And if we do this, we can prevent, for example, statelessness before it begins, yeah? And we will move more closer to the world where everyone now left behind. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashraf. Register every child despite all difficulties. Very clear. Dr. Samatunga.
Thank you. Actually, there are 8,478 actions under 17 SDG goals. CRVS systems can be used to track 12 out of 17 goals. And ladies and gentlemen, we have no time because 2030 is near. Only 5 years are left. And we know that some of the targets are on track, but some not. Therefore, I strongly recommend that monitoring and evaluation should be inbuilt, and we must have a objectively verifiable, comparable, cost-effective monitoring and assessment of to measure CRV's progress. And more specifically, yearly reviews with very much focused midterm assessment to reach inclusive CRVs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samatunga. Having an inclusive CRVS itself can be a goal, but also it's a means to achieve many, many SDGs. And also thank you for reminding all of us as to how little time left until 2030. Lastly, but not the least, Dr. Pecharamsli.
Thank you. If I can have only one priority, it would be about making zero registration, especially birth registration, also through non-discriminatory legislation and open-minded officers, as well as making sure that all countries fulfill their obligations if we want to be inclusive and achieve SDG. And that would be my, of course I am having many priorities, but that would be one of priorities that I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much again for highlighting the importance of complete birth registration, but also alluding to the fact that those duty bearers who are supposed to do the birth registration, they also need to be capacitated in terms of resources and training. Thank you so much. So as timekeeper today, miraculously, it seems that I am not doing such a bad job. And we have come to the end of a very, very important panel discussion. Thank you to all our distinguished panelists for your thoughtful insights and powerful reflection. I would like to propose distinguished delegates, participants here, to kindly give you a warm applause to all of the panel members here. I don't think I'm the only one who thought, after listening to you and then the engagement with the participants here, that today's discussion has reaffirmed that the inclusive civil registration in vital statistics systems are not just administrative tools. As was said, they are the instruments of equity, empowerment, and transformative change, as you said, Mr. Ashraf. We have heard how CRVS systems can be leveraged to dismantle barriers for marginalized populations, as many of the panelist members said. One clear message has emerged today, in my view, that is inclusion must be intentional. Inclusion must be built in the design, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation of the CRVS systems. The panel discussion today has shown us what is possible when commitment meets innovation and when resources are allocated adequately. Thank you once again to our co-organizers, ESCAP, UNFPA, UNICEF, UNHCR, and IOM. And I would like to thank all of you here for your active listening, engagement, and participation. Please let us carry forward the momentum from today and ensure that every person is counted, every life is recognized, and no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
A warm thank you to all our speakers and to our moderator for leading such an informative and inspiring session. Your experiences and reflections have greatly enriched our understanding of how to make CRVS systems more inclusive. We appreciate your commitment to ensuring that no one is left behind. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we shall now proceed with the statements for Agenda Item 3, Building Resilient and Inclusive Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Systems in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We kindly request your support in limiting interventions to issues requiring discussions or actions and in keeping each intervention to a maximum of 3 minutes. Delegations are strongly encouraged to be brief and focused. A timer will be displayed on the screen. Once the 3 minutes have elapsed, you will be notified and asked to wrap up your remarks immediately. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the floor is now open for comments on Agenda Item 3. The first speaker is the distinguished delegate from Fiji, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Philippines. Distinguished delegate from Fiji, you have the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the government of the Republic of Fiji, as we reflect on the vital role of resilient and inclusive civil registration and vital statistics systems in advancing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. A robust CRVS system is more than administrative function. It is a foundation pillar of sustainable development. It secures legal identity, upholds individual rights, enables access to essential services, and provides critical data to monitor progress across numerous sustainable development goals, in particular SDG 69, which calls for legal identity for all, including birth registration, SDG 3, which relies on accurate cause of death to support healthy lives, and SDGs 5 and 10, which focus on gender equality and reducing inequalities through inclusive registration practices. Fiji's National CRVS Committee is a strong and collaborative body. Coordination between Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Health, Bureau of Statistics, and other government agencies has enabled effective data collection and dissemination. Through digital platforms and mobile registration teams, CRVS services have been extended to remote islands and rural communities, significantly improving coverage and accessibility. Fiji was the first country in the region to complete a national CRVS inequality assessment in 2023. This informed a business process improvement initiative that identifies system bottlenecks from birth through registration. Evidence to action projects have also supported the development of policy briefs addressing adolescents' pregnancy, motherhood, and disparities in timely birth registration. Data segregation efforts have tackled inconsistencies such as variation in place names, name spelling, and user-friendly solutions like drop-down menus have been introduced to enhance data accuracy. With the review of the Birth, Death, and Marriages Registration Act 1975, the Marriage Act 1968, and the Statistics Act 1961, we can be assured of a greater inclusivity, accessibility, and completeness of civil registration process when it is commenced. In our effort to build resilience and inclusive CRVS system, Fiji is committed to ensuring that all citizens, including women, children, persons with disabilities, and indigenous communities are covered. We are developing climate resilient civil infrastructure to withstand Fiji's vulnerability to natural disasters and climate change, and strengthening service continuity during emergencies through preparedness, planning, and digital service delivery. Winakba Lebu, and thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Fiji. The next speaker is the distinguished delegate from the Philippines, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from New Zealand. Distinguished delegate from the Philippines, you have now the floor.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the Philippines reaffirms its full support for building resilient and inclusive civil registration and vital statistics system as a cornerstone of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We recognize that strong CRVS systems are fundamental to ensuring legal identity, upholding human rights, and supporting national development, particularly in times of crisis. In the Philippines, we are ensuring that CRVS systems contribute to our aspiration of leaving no one behind. As an example, we align the goals of the CRVS decade and the country's National Action Plan to end statelessness. Through government agencies supported by the UN and CSOs, we are facilitating the documentation of stateless persons and vulnerable groups, including children in need of special protection and indigenous peoples. A key component of this work is the integration of CRBS with the Philippine Identification System, our national digital identity platform. To promote inclusive access to legal identity, we are implementing the Birth Registration Assistance Project, a flagship initiative providing free birth registration to indigenous peoples, Muslim Filipinos, and vulnerable groups. Focusing on areas with low registration rates, BIRAP deploys mobile registration teams to deliver essential civil registration services to underserved communities. We are also enhancing data collection on populations at risk of statelessness through digital profiling, including for indigenous, nomadic communities such as the Sama Badjaus. These efforts are complemented by our advocacy for their inclusion in the National Identification System. At the core of our efforts is the continued digitalization of CRVS. We wish to highlight our ongoing partnership with the private sector in implementing the Civil Registry System Information Technology Project Phase 2. This initiative modernizes the PSA's civil registry operations through computerization, imaging technology, and a centralized system for managing civil registry documents. It enables the nationwide availability of civil registry services through CRS outlets and authorized partners, and establish a disaster recovery facility. In addition, we are collaborating with partners such as OpenCRBS and GGP Data for Health to develop electronic CRBS modules for birth and death registrations. This effort aims to establish a unified, reliable data source for civil registration in the country. We have established data sharing agreements with key agencies such as the Department of Justice and UNHCR, facilitating the migration to systems like Progress B4 to improve access to accurate and timely information. The Philippines remains firmly committed to advancing a resilient and
May I
inclusive...
request the distinguished delegate
Thank
from
you,
the
Madam
Philippines to wrap up your
a
statement.
resilient and inclusive CRVS system, one that truly leaves no one behind. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the Philippines. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from New Zealand, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Cambodia. Distinguished delegate from New Zealand, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings from the South Pacific. New Zealand has been honoured to be an active participant in the regional steering group over the last decade. We commend the ESCAP Secretariat, partner agencies and country members of the steering group for their excellent work over that last decade. We've made great strides in performance across our region through collaborative work together, learning from each other and engaging constructively with development partners. New Zealand is happy to report meeting most of the targets we set ourselves in 2015. We note there is also room for improvement. We acknowledge the significant effort made by countries across the region, but note the job is not yet done. The need for universal registration of births and deaths, supported by legal documentation, is essential for citizens and residents to engage safely in civil society. We support the proposed extension of time to achieve these goals. We also support the proposed additional focus on resilience and inclusivity. The lessons of the coronavirus pandemic should not be lost as countries invest in stronger civil registry and vital statistics systems and processes. For example, our government has made decisions to categorise civil registry systems as an essential service. New Zealand continues to invest in our civil registry systems. Our systems, while safe, are aged and expensive to operate. We will be seeking to modernise those systems. In doing so, we will seek to use the foundational information we hold to support citizens and residents to build safe, secure online identities that facilitate access to services provided by government and non-government agencies. New Zealand proudly works closely with the Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau, whose people are New Zealand citizens. We remain committed to working with those countries and our other Pacific neighbours to coordinate efforts to improve civil registries in our region. To conclude, we endorse the Ministerial Declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of New Zealand. The next speaker is distinguished delegate from Cambodia, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Vanuatu. Distinguished delegate from Cambodia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor and privilege on behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia, representing Ministry of Interior. Cambodia's journey in COVS has been both unique and challenging, and history has taught us the critical importance of building a resilient and inclusive COVS system. In the Khmer Rouge regime, our COVS ID system was completely destroyed. Since then, the Royal Government of Cambodia has taken intensive effort to rebuild COVS ID system that is inclusive and future-ready. The General Department of Identification of the Ministry of Interior has played a vital role in the launch of the Asia-Pacific COVS decade. As a result, the birth registration rate for children under 5 increased from 73.3% in 2014 to 91.7% in 2022. In July 2023, Cambodia achieved a milestone in adoption of the law on COVS ID that ensures continuity, permanent, compulsory, and universal to register vital events, such as birth, marriages, and deaths. To support this legal foundation, we have developed a digital identity ecosystem to serve as the cornerstone to identification across all sectors. We are prioritizing on online registration and the issuance of a unique identification code to use for a lifetime. The preparation of the second National Strategy Plan for Identification will further drive digital transformation to achieve the vision of everyone is identified and one person, one identity. We believe legal identity and digital public infrastructure are key to bridging people with their rights and enabling inclusive development. Cambodia remains fully committed to regional cooperation and continue effort to strengthen COVS ID system for the benefit of all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Cambodia. The next speaker is distinguished delegate from Vanuatu, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Republic of Korea. Distinguished delegate of Vanuatu, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by sincerely congratulating all countries attending this conference, especially our Pacific neighbors from the great for the great progress we've achieved together over the past 10 years in strengthening civil registration and vital statistic systems. Your successes continue to inspire and inform our journey in Vanuatu. Vanuatu, like many of our Pacific neighbors, faces unique challenges. As one of the world's most disaster-prone countries, our systems must be designed not just to function, but to withstand and adapt in times of crisis. Our geography, an archipelago of over 80 islands, compounds these difficulties, making inclusivity and resilience not just aspirational goals, but practical necessities. In response, Vanuatu has adopted a deliberately resilient and inclusive approach to CRVS. A cornerstone of this effort is the Vanuatu National ID, which includes a unique identification number and QR code. This technology allows individuals to access services more efficiently, even when central systems are temporarily down or unreachable. We have also focused on decentralizing registration, expanding services to hospitals and other government offices across the islands, ensuring that legal identity and vital registration are available at the community level, even during disruption caused by disasters. In line with the priorities identified in ESCAP's framework for resilient CRVS systems, Vanuatu has made considerable progress in digitalizing our CRVS systems to reduce reliance on paper-based records, linking civil registration with our broader national data infrastructure, strengthening core functions including governance and legal frameworks, and improving human resource capacity. These efforts are tailored to our context, addressing our logistical and environmental challenges, while ensuring every new Vanuatu is counted and can claim the rights and entitlements. We are grateful for the invaluable support of our development partners. I would particularly like to thank the Pacific community, ESCAP, Vital Strategies, UNDP, and UNECA for the technical guidance and collaboration. Their assistance has been critical in helping us identifying gaps, generate insights, and develop strategies to make our CRVS system more robust and future-ready. As we look forward, Vanuatu remains firmly committed to the Ministerial Declaration and the Decade of Action. We believe that building resilience and inclusive CRVS system is not only essential for achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal, but also protecting the dignity, identity of every citizen, no matter where they live and what challenges they face. Thank you too much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Vanuatu. The next speaker is distinguished delegate from Republic of Korea, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Bangladesh. Distinguished delegate from Republic of Korea, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, distinguished delegates. A strong legal framework is essential to ensure the effectiveness and the resilience of CRVS systems. In the Republic of Korea, CRVS system is clearly defined in laws such as Act on Registration of Family Relations and the Statistics Act. These legal foundations enable us to maintain the CRVS system even during the COVID-19 pandemic. Even in the midst of the crisis, Statistics Korea continued to produce vital statistics and additionally published data on excess mortality to support public health policymaking. Excess mortality refers to the number of deaths exceeding the average of the previous 3 years. We released this information monthly to monitor the increase in deaths following the outbreak. We hope that CRVS system in the Asia Pacific will be able to respond flexibly in future crises, and the ROK will continue to support these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Republic of Korea. Now our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Bangladesh, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Bhutan.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I express my sincere gratitude to ESCAP and its partners for organizing this significant event on CRVS. Madam Chair, Bangladesh is firmly committed to develop a universal and resilient CRVS system that aligns with ESCAP's regional action framework and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly SDG 16.9, which seeks to provide legal identity for all. Our national vision for 2030 emphasizes building systems that are inclusive, crisis resilient, and responsive to the diverse needs of our population, ensuring that no one is left behind. A strong CRVS system is essentially for advancing the SDGs by providing baseline data to monitor progress and address inequalities. By producing accurate, timely, and disaggregated vital statistics, CRVS supports over 60 SDG indicators across key goals such as health, gender equality, and reducing inequalities. In Bangladesh, real-time data from the birth and death registration information system has facilitated targeted intervention, including maternal health programs and vaccination campaigns, directly improving health outcomes and promoting equity. Madam Chair, to strengthen system resilience, Bangladesh has embraced digital transformation through initiatives such as the Kaliganj model, which integrates health, local government, and civil registration services to streamline birth and death registration. The country's CRVS system has proven its resilience by maintaining essential services via digital platform like the Bangladesh Digital Registration Information System. Building on BDRS, integrated service delivery platform has been developed to enable real-time data access, supporting agile policymaking and seamless service delivery. Madam Chair, despite significant progress, challenges persist, including limited resources, uneven public awareness, and data interoperability gaps. Bangladesh is addressing this through innovative solutions, satellite connectivity, and enhanced community engagement. Looking ahead, Bangladesh is committed to scaling the integrated service delivery platform nationwide for seamless data integration, strengthening legal framework to support comprehensive CRVS operation, deepening regional cooperation through knowledge sharing and capacity building, aligning with the proposed extension of the CRVS decade to 2030 to achieve universal coverage. Bangladesh reaffirms its commitment for building a resilient, inclusive, and responsive CRVS system that underpins sustainable development and upholds human rights. We look forward to deepening collaboration with ESCAP, regional partners, and stakeholders for further enhancement of our CRVS initiatives. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Bangladesh. The next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Bhutan, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Papua New Guinea.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Bhutan is honored to share its experience in transforming its civil registration system from a manual paper-based system to a fully digital and web-based platform in less than a decade. This remarkable transformation was possible due to strong political leadership leading to a nationwide digitalization and modernization of civil registration services through the government to citizen initiative. The efforts to improve the provision of civil registration were further reinforced by establishing community centers in every administrative block and setting over 230 registration points nationwide. This ensured that even the most remote communities have a year-round access to vital event registration closer to their homes. We achieved a key milestone in 2023 with the integration of birth and death registration into the Integrated Citizen Services platform. This user-friendly platform, accessible via smartphones and computers, significantly helped streamline the processes, reduced administrative burden, and improved accessibility for all, including those hard-to-reach areas. Bhutan is pleased to report that even during the times of emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, its CRVS system remained fully functional, and accessible. In fact, it played a pivotal role in supporting the delivery of essential services, including the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination. The pandemic served as a catalyst for further innovation, accelerating the shift towards a fully digital registration system through ICS. The cornerstone achievement has been the institutionalization of annual vital statistics report initiated in 2020, along with the publication of inequality assessment report in 2025. And we thank ESCAP for their technical support and guidance. Bhutan is also working on the analysis of the CRVS accessibility and completeness with gender perspective supported by the Global Grant Program. This report marks a turning point in the use of administrative data for planning and have emerged as a critical tool for evidence-based policy across sectors. These achievements directly reflects our commitment to the 2014 declaration transforming civil registration data into actionable statistics. Bhutan reaffirms its strong commitment to further strengthening a resilient, people-centered CRVS system and encourages fellow member states to harness the power of digital technologies and platforms as a vital pathway towards achieving resilient and inclusive CRVS system. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Bhutan. The next speaker is our distinguished delegate from Papua New Guinea, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Indonesia. Distinguished delegate from Papua New Guinea, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, friends from across the Pacific and Asia, and our global partners. It is both a privilege and a profound responsibility given as the next generation to present before you today as a voice for the people of Papua New Guinea, to present our response on Agenda 3 for resilience and inclusive systems under 2030 agenda. We extend our gratitude to ESCAP and our regional and international partners for their steadfast commitment to strengthening civil identity registration and vital statistic systems. We gather not merely as representatives of our nation, but as stewards of a shared vision, one that demands leave no one behind. Papua New Guinea's path towards resilient and inclusive civil identity registration and vital statistics systems demonstrates the power of perseverance. After gaining independence in 1975, the country inherited a system ill-suited to its challenges. Registering births, marriages, and deaths across 830 different linguistic groups, diverse cultures, and vast rugged geographical terrains with challenges in accessibility, our country has evolved and grows rapidly with transfer of local knowledge passed down through genealogies. A pivotal shift came in 2012 with the modernization of paper-based CRVS system, leading to a 2015 launch of our National Identity Project, integrating biometric and biodata that benefits from the birth records, creating that what became known as our CIRVS. This initiative by our government merged civil registration with identity management, improving records efficiently and expectedly increasing birth registration rates across the country, bringing attention as well as to other important vital events such as encouraging respect of marriages and honoring our deaths, which enhance inclusion and resilience within the country. However, gaps in vital events reporting persist, indicating that progress in CIRVS remains as a constant effort to record vital events of all individuals who continue to evolve because of their life decisions. Originally as a measure efficiency implemented by our government, the NID project became a tool for inclusion, increasing the attention of birth registration, creating an awareness of respect marriages, which is required also to legitimization and also briefly highlighting death registration as a matter of heritage and honor. These three vital events coordinates the records of the 3 E's, which are for entry, enjoyment, and exit out of our planet through a coordinated record system. This drive provided the
May I
opportunity...
request the distinguished delegate from Papua New Guinea to wrap up his statement, please?
The 2030 agenda demands agency of collaboration with CDG 16.9, target 17.9, and an indicator of 17.9.2 for PNG. Resilience in data record collection means more than technology. It requires rebuilding trust in institutions, fostering agencies, synergizing and empowering communities through awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Papua New Guinea. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Indonesia, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Pakistan. The distinguished delegate from Indonesia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to address a distinguished gathering today, and I would like to express my sincere appreciation to ESCAP for its continued leadership in advancing CRFS system across the Asia-Pacific region. We meet today under a shared recognition. CRFS is not only a technical priority, it is a human rights imperative, a development accelerator, and a governance necessity. In Indonesia, CRFS play a foundational role in our efforts to realize the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 16.9, which aims to provide legal identity for all, including birth registration by 2030. Excellencies, Indonesia has made significant strides in strengthening our CRFS system since 2022. We have implemented a centralized population administration system which integrates data across all levels of government and enables real-time civil registration service throughout the country. We are now entering a new phase, enhancing the role of the health sector in CRFS implementation. Health facilities are often the first point of contact for fatal events such as births and deaths. Recognizing this, we are preparing to launch the CRFS Health Roadmap 2025 till 2030, a strategic framework aimed at enabling real-time event registration at health facilities through an integrated digital ecosystem connecting health data with civil registration system. This initiative will not only improve completeness and timeliness of vital statistics, but also strengthen our pandemic preparedness, health service delivery, and equity in access to social protection. At the same time, we are prioritizing public awareness, particularly in rural and underserved communities, to ensure that every citizen understands the importance of registering fatal life events and feels empowered to do so. Recognizing the importance of governance, we are currently drafting a presidential regulation on CRFS, which will provide legal clarity, institutional coordination, and national ownership of CRFS reform. Colleagues, the Asia-Pacific region has made impressive progress in recent years through our shared regional action framework and joint commitments under the UN Legal Identity Agenda. However, the path ahead remains challenging, and it requires stronger political commitment, multi-sectoral partnership, and sustained investment in digital infrastructures and capacity buildings. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with ESCAP and regional partners, learning from one another, and ensuring that our systems are not only technical sound, but also inclusive, right-based, and future-ready. Let us reaffirm our common goal that every individual is counted, protected, and recognized in life, in law, and in policy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Indonesia. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Pakistan, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Lao People's Democratic Republic. The distinguished delegate from Pakistan, you now have the floor.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, I am honored to contribute to building a resilient and inclusive CRVS systems in support of the 2030 Agenda. In Pakistan, the civil registration mandate is carried out by the National Database and Registration Authority operating under the Ministry of Interior as the country's primary implementing body for CRVS and legal identity. Pakistan considers civil registration not only a legal function, but a safeguard for human rights, dignity, and social protection. As the operational arm of the state for identity management, NADRA has strategically driven efforts to enhance both the resilience and inclusivity of Pakistan's CRVS ecosystem. For this, NADRA Pakistan deploys mobile registration units, including vans and man-pack kits, in flood-affected and disaster-prone regions. These mobile units enable timely reissuance of lost identity documents and ensure continuity of CRVS operations. In parallel, legacy registration records have been digitized and critical data is now backed by highly secure systems. Furthermore, CRV records are increasingly integrated with social protection registries to enable rapid identification and support for vulnerable populations during emergencies. Inclusivity remains a central pillar of Pakistan's CRVS strategy. Female-only registration centers have been established in conservative and low registration districts with highly trained female staff addressing gender-specific concerns. To ensure identity rights of children outside family care, NADRA Pakistan has partnered with National Commission on the Rights of a Child to pilot specialized registration frameworks for orphans and children living in institutional settings. In collaboration with social welfare departments, NADRA Pakistan also links birth registration with identity certificate and disability where required for inclusion. The Pak Identity mobile application developed by NADRA has enabled citizens, especially in remote regions, to report births and deaths for issuance of identity documents at their doorstep. Pakistan has also established biometric protocols for registering refugees and undocumented individuals in coordination with national and international partners. Secure identity credentials are always issued to support service access and ensure data integrity and international security. Pakistan reaffirms that resilience and inclusivity must be built into the CRVS systems and welcomes deeper cooperation with regional partners to accelerate this progress. Pakistan, Zindabad. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Pakistan. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Lao People's Democratic Republic, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Tonga. The distinguished delegate from Lao People's Democratic Republic, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Excellency, distinguished delegates, it's my honor on behalf of the Lao government to participate in this important meeting, reaffirming our commitment to build resilient and inclusive CRVS systems. In the past decade, Lao has made a significant stride to improve the CRVS system, such as the family registration law was amended in 2018 to establish a legal foundation for universal birth and death registration. Birth registration rate has increased, especially among the children under 5, increased from 32% in 2015 to 82% in 2024. The ECRVS system is being implemented to improve accuracy, efficiency, and enhance services, particularly in rural area. Stronger intersectoral coordination has integrated CRVS with the national ID, health, education, and other government systems. Public awareness campaigns have reached underserved population, including remote and any community. Lao PDR commitment to achieve the 2030 agenda with the key priority as one is strengthen institution capacity at both central and local level. Two, expanding digital and mobile registration service in remote area. Three, promote inclusive policy to support vulnerable groups, including ethnic groups and persons with disability. Four, increasing investment in CRS for the long-term sustainability. Five, enhance international cooperation and technical assistance, particularly from ESCAP member and development partners. In conclusion, Lao believes that a resilient and inclusive CRS system are not just a technical mechanism, they are human rights instruments. They are vital for unlocking opportunity, protecting life, and building a just society. We would like to thank ESCAP, the World Bank, WHO, and other development partners for their continued support and reaffirming our commitment to work together to ensure that every life is recognized, every death is recorded, and no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Lao People's Democratic Republic. Now our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Tonga, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia. Distinguished delegate from Tonga, please, you have now the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Mahalo lele and warm Pacific greetings from the island kingdom of Tonga, the last remaining Pacific island nation with a monarchy. We extend our sincere compliments to the organizers of this great conference, the Kingdom of Thailand, and to all countries present. We would like to especially congratulate our Pacific Island family on showcasing their inspiring achievements over the past years. One island nation step forward is a step forward for all of us in the Pacific. The challenges we face in the Pacific transitioning into this digital era of CRVS are vast and unique. This is ever more evident in the Kingdom of Tonga after facing multiple calamities within a short span of time. That includes COVID-19, volcanic eruption, tsunamis, earthquakes, cyclones, and the recent cybersecurity event. Despite all these challenges, we power through. We do not see obstacles, we only see opportunities to learn, adapt, and come back stronger and more resilient as we move forward. There have been many successes, but we acknowledge there's still a lot of work to be done. Tonga has just recently moved to Open CRVS as part of a wider Tonga Pass initiative, a cloud-based system that stores CRVS data and makes that data available to all government agencies, ensuring more efficient registrations and data integration. The Kingdom of Tonga is also part of the regional cause of death coding approach in collaboration with our brothers and sisters from the Republic of Fiji and Tuvalu. The causes of death in the kingdom are sent over to the Republic of Fiji and are coded there using an automated tool called IRIS. The kingdom is not relying on its limited pool of human resources, but leveraging on the larger pool of specialists of our Pacific Island family. This highlights Tonga's emphasis on strong regional partnerships and collaboration. Lastly, the Kingdom of Tonga looks at inclusivity. Tonga's Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, and Department of Statistics, as part of the Bloomberg Global Grants Program, are analyzing CRV's data, but from a gender perspective. This is to identify potential key areas that can be improved and addressed through policies and initiatives, closing any inequities and gaps in regards to registration. This will help get everyone in the picture. We all know a picture is worth 1,000 words. However, it is one thing to be in a picture, it is another thing to take a good picture. So let us take as many photos and selfies together to cover everyone and cover all perspectives and angles from womb to tomb. But more importantly, please reserve a spot for the Pacific Islands in the photo. Because at the end of the day, you will not have a photo worth 1,000 words, but an album of photos worth 1,000,000. On that note, we'd like to acknowledge the immense support of the development partners, in particular the Pacific community, Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, UN partners, VS One World, and Open CRVS in strengthening the Kingdom's CRVS system and digital identification through the Tonga Pass initiative. We look forward to continued collaborations in the future. In closing, Madam Chair, the Kingdom of Tonga would like to reaffirm our commitment to the ministerial decade in achieving resilient, inclusive, and responsive civil registration and vital statistics systems. Malo pito.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Tonga. The next speaker is the distinguished delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Northern Mariana Islands. Distinguished delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia, you now have the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the Federated States of Micronesia, I wish to express our appreciation to ESCAP and partners for organizing this important ministerial conference and for the continued support in advancing civil registration and vital statistics systems across the region. The Federated States of Micronesia reaffirms its commitment to building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable CRVS systems that contribute meaningfully to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. A well-functioning CRVS system is foundational for ensuring legal identity, protecting human rights, planning public services, and monitoring development progress. FSM's commitment remains steadfast, but we continue to face several persistent challenges, primarily due to our unique geographical and political structure. As a small island developing state, FSM is made up of 4 semi-autonomous state governments, each with its own administrative and health systems. Geographic isolation, limited infrastructure, and human resource constraints further complicate efforts to harmonize and modernize CRVS functions across states and between state and national levels. Despite these challenges, progress has been made with support from regional partners and technical assistance agencies. FSM has begun aligning its national strategies with the regional action framework and has initiated intergovernmental dialogue to address CRVS system fragmentation. Efforts are ongoing to strengthen coordination, improve data quality, and promote timely registration of births and deaths, particularly in remote and outer island communities. Looking forward, FSM recognizes the need for strengthening national coordination and mechanisms for CRVS across sectors and levels of government, building capacity of frontline staff to improve completeness and accuracy of registration, leveraging digital innovations to streamline data collection and improve interoperability between systems, and enhancing public awareness to promote demand for CRVS services, particularly among marginalized and underserved populations. We welcome the renewed ministerial declaration and remain committed to the shared regional vision that all people in Asia and the Pacific benefit from universal and responsive CRVS systems by 2030. We also reiterate our call for sustained technical and financial support from the international community to help countries like FSM build robust, resilient, and inclusive CRVS systems. I thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the Federated States of Micronesia. The next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Northern Mariana Islands, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Niue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hafaday, Tiro, good morning, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and partners. It is an honor and my pleasure that I deliver the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands statement on our efforts on building resilient and inclusive civil registrations and vital statistics systems in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, CNMI, is committed to long-term system resilience by modernizing our civil registration system and digitizing historical records which dates back to 1945. Working in collaboration with our regional partners is key to our success. We were proud to attend the Pacific Civil Registrars Network in Nandi, Fiji, and to present alongside regional colleagues from Guam and American Samoa at the NAPSIS conference in Dallas, Texas. We are also improving inclusivity by providing medical certification training. 2 Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation, CHCC doctors, were training Guam and are now leading efforts to train our healthcare providers to improve cost of death reporting in the CNMI. Sizuus Maasi, Giliso, and thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the Northern Mariana Islands. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Niue. You now have the floor, please.
To the newly appointed chairperson and vice chairpersons, Undersecretary General, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is an honor to be here to celebrate a decade of CRVS, both globally and within our Pacific region. For Niue, this journey has been transformative, and we acknowledge with deep appreciation all CRVS champions, past and present, who have brought us to where we are today. Niue has transitioned from a paper-based system, where some records were stored in spreadsheets, to a cloud-based, open-source online environment for birth and death registration. This transition significantly strengthens our resilience. The memory of Category 5 Cyclone Hatta in 2004 reminds us why this is so important. Data must be secure, protected, and accessible, no matter what. With a public service of under 450 people running a nation to international standards, digital solutions are not just convenient, they are essential. We are proud to report 100% completeness in birth and death registrations. We are now expanding to include life events such as marriages, name changes, adoptions, and divorces to ensure completeness and secure records across all areas. Niue is also engaging in cross-border data sharing with New Zealand, especially around passport and life event data, with support from SBC and Open CRVS. At home, enhancing interoperability across government is a priority to improve service delivery and efficiency for all our people. However, this progress must come with strong data governance. Without trust, interoperability means nothing. We are committed to ensuring that data is only shared for the right purpose, right time, and always with the highest standards of privacy and protection. We must acknowledge the importance of gender equity in data. Through the GCP Gender Project, we are working to improve how sex and gender data is used in public health policy. By digitizing our historic records, we will support the Statistics Office with analysis and report trending to better inform decision-making. None of this would be possible without the support of our development partners, particularly SBC, Bloomberg Philanthropies, Data for Health Initiative, and Open CRVS. We extend our sincere gratitude for your continued partnership. Madam Chairperson, Niue reaffirms its commitment to resilient and inclusive CRVS systems and supports the global call for a 2030 extension.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Niue. We have now reached the end of the statements by members and associate members of the Commission. As we still have time, I would like now to open the floor to observers, United Nations bodies, international organizations, and non-governmental organizations, in that order. The next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Vital Strategies, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from the Regional Support Office of Bali Process. The distinguished delegate from Vital Strategies, you now have the floor.
Excellencies, colleagues, and partners, my name is Stephanie Tan, and I am honored to represent Vital Strategies, a global public health organization working to strengthen civil registration and vital statistics systems as part of the Bloomberg Philanthropies Data for Health initiative. Since the launch of the CRVS decade, countries across Asia and the Pacific have expanded registration coverage, introduced legal reforms, improved mortality data, and embraced digital innovations. Yet, persistent barriers continue to undermine universal, inclusive, and resilient CRVS systems, leaving too many people behind. This includes inaccessible services, late registration penalties, and complex passive procedures and documentation, placing the burden of registration on families. Events such as COVID-19 and climate disasters further disrupt vulnerable CRVS services. Such challenges impact especially low-income, rural, stateless, and migrant populations. Vital Strategies has been proud to support efforts to build resilient and adaptable CRVS systems by supporting legal reforms towards compulsory and universal digital legal identity in Cambodia, partnering governments to assess and address registration inequalities in Bangladesh, supporting mortality data improvements in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, helping countries develop multi-sectoral national strategies on civil registration, vital statistics, and identification in Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, and strengthening linkages between health, CRVS, and identity systems to lay the groundwork for digital public infrastructure in Bangladesh, Cambodia, and Vietnam. We are keenly aware that technology is not a magic solution. Digital systems must be designed with inclusion in mind, grounded by privacy, accessibility, and interoperability. Otherwise, they risk entrenching barriers. We urge that implementation includes collaboration with civil society organizations and expansion of proactive services to rural, remote, and mobile populations. There is increasing recognition that compulsory and universal CRVS systems are foundational to build inclusive identity systems, enable digital public infrastructure, and improve service access. Prioritizing death registration, especially for women, improves public health data and contributes to accuracy and trust of population registers and ID systems. The 2030 Agenda compels us to reach those furthest behind first. CRVS directly recognizes every person, counts every life, and uses that data to improve lives. In closing, Vital Strategies remains committed to working with countries and partners to build CRVS systems that are resilient during crisis and inclusive every day for every person at every life event. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Vital Strategies. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from the Regional Support Office of Bali Process, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness. The distinguished delegate from Regional Support Office of Bali Process, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm co-manager of Regional Support Office, RSO of the Bali Process. Bali Process is regional cooperation on the issues of people smuggling, trafficking in person, and related transnational crime, consists of 45 member states and 4 international organizations co-chaired by Australia and Indonesia. Strong and inclusive civil registration systems are essential to reducing vulnerabilities to trafficking in person, address the risk of statelessness, and contribute to safe, regular, and orderly migration. The importance of civil registration has long been acknowledged within the Bali Process. At the 6th Ministerial Conference in 2016, Bali Process members formally recognized the need to strengthen national civil registration system. This commitment was reaffirmed in 2023 by Minister through the Adelaide Strategy for Cooperation, where members reiterate their support to implement initiatives on civil registration and collection of vital statistics. The Bali Process Regional Support Office in Bangkok, in close collaboration with the UNHCR Regional Bureau for Asia and the Pacific, has been working since 2017 to assist member states in assessing and strengthening their national systems. A key milestone in our partnership was the development of the Bali Process Civil Registration Assessment Toolkit in 2018. This qualitative tool was designed to help government evaluate their civil registration systems, identify gaps, and enhance inclusion, particularly of birth, death, and marriage among marginalized population. The toolkit was successfully piloted in Pakistan, Thailand, and Vietnam. Each of these pilots offer important lessons about the specific challenges faced and pathways available to strengthen national effort on developing inclusive civil registration systems. Building on these lessons, the RSO and UNHCR undertook a comprehensive revision of the toolkit in 2023. The result is the Bali Process Toolkit for Inclusive Civil Registration. This tool reflects updated practices and strengthened focus on inclusion and equality. We encourage all Bali Process members and member states here today to consider adopting and applying these tools in their national context. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, we have all gathered today acknowledging that civil registration is a matter of rights, protection, and empowerment. A birth not registered is a child not seen. A death not recorded is a life unacknowledged. A marriage not documented can leave families without legal protection. The RSO stands ready to support member states and partners in this effort to ensure that no one is left behind in our system and welcomes your continued collaboration. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the Regional Support Office of Bali Process. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness, to be followed by the distinguished delegate from Global Health Advocacy Incubator. The distinguished delegate from Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness, you now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to participate and share views on behalf of the Melbourne Law School Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness at the third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics. The Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness is currently the world's only university-based research center on statelessness. It undertakes research, teaching, and engagement activities aimed at reducing statelessness and protecting the rights of stateless people in Asia and the Pacific. The center acknowledges that the CRVS systems play a crucial role to ensure that everyone is legally recognized, including hard-to-reach populations and people in vulnerable situations, such as stateless person, refugee, and migrant. With legal recognition, people can secure their rights and access essential services. The center also witnesses that the lack of birth certificate and legal documentation can render people vulnerable to statelessness and associated protection risks. Thus, a well-functioning and inclusive CRVS system are key to also prevent statelessness in the first place. On behalf of the Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness, I congratulate all the governments participating in the Ministerial Conference on the progress they have made on CRVS in the region after the decade of getting everyone in the picture. However, the Center understand that achieving universal registration remains a challenge, in particular among people in vulnerable situations, including stateless people, refugees, and migrants. The Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness recognized the need to sustain momentum and build on the fantastic progress on CRVS made by all governments and stakeholders. Extending the CRVS decade to 2030 would provide a crucial opportunity to bridge remaining gaps, including the lack of registration among the people in vulnerable situations. The Center is prepared to work closely with government partners, UN agency, and NGO to provide academic support and contributes to addressing statelessness, including through the efforts to strengthen the CRVS system accessible for all. On behalf of the Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness, I thank the organizer for providing us this opportunity to participate in this conference. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Peter McMullen Center on Statelessness. Our next speaker is the distinguished delegate from Global Health Advocacy Incubator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Respected Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and partners. On behalf of Global Health Advocacy Incubator, I am deeply honored to contribute to the critical conversation on building resilient and inclusive CRVS systems in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Over the past decade, countries across Asia and Pacific have made commendable progress in expanding registration coverage, digitizing CRVS systems, and strengthening institutional governance. However, challenges of fragmentation, underinvestment, and legal exclusion continue to hinder universal coverage. As we reflect on this progress, we must now pivot towards embedding permanence, resilience, and equity into the core architecture of CRVS systems. At GHI, we view CRVS not merely as an administrative tool, but as a public good and a human rights obligation, foundational to legal identity, access to services, inclusive governance, and accountability. Our work in the region is centered on three key pillars. First, we provide technical assistance to governments and civil society organizations to strengthen CRVS legal regulatory frameworks, ensuring alignment with human rights norms, enabling a full life cycle approach, and protecting the rights of women, children, indigenous communities, and gender diverse individuals. Second, we support efforts to improve domestic resource mobilization and public financing for CRVS. We work closely with Ministries of Finance, Planning, and Civil Registration to integrate CRVS into the national budgeting processes. Resilience cannot be achieved if systems remain dependent on external funding. Sustainable financing is both a governance imperative as well as a measure of national ownership. Third, we promote inclusive and accountable governance ecosystems by strengthening the role of civil society, academic institutions, and community-based organizations in shaping CRVS systems. We believe that inclusion must transcend the point of service delivery. It must be embedded in policy dialogue, planning processes, budget formulations, and oversight mechanisms. When diverse voices are represented in decision-making, CRVS systems become more equitable, transparent, and resilient. We firmly believe that the resilient CRVS systems require a comprehensive ecosystem-based approach grounded in legal mandates, financial sustainability, institutional coordination, and social inclusion. As we transition beyond the CRVS decade, we respectfully urge member states and partners to institutionalize right-based legal frameworks that ensure universal and permanent registration. Prioritize CRVS within domestic financing systems as a core public service, and advance inclusive, equity-focused strategies to ensure that no individuals or community is left behind. GHI reaffirms its unwavering commitment to supporting national and regional efforts to achieve universal, responsive, and resilient CRVS systems. Together, we can build systems where every birth is recorded, every death is counted, and every identity is recognized. Thank you so much.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Global Health Advocacy Incubator. Thank you for your interventions. Would any other delegation like to take the floor on this agenda item at this time? I see none. This brings us to the conclusion of agenda item 3. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, as we have finished all statements for agenda item 3 this morning, we shall now break for lunch. May I ask the Secretariat to make some housekeeping announcements and to also tell us about each ministerial roundtable that will take place this afternoon from 15:45 onwards and the reception which will follow. Ms. Viben, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As part of the ongoing third Ministerial Conference on Civil Registration and Vital Statistics in Asia and the Pacific, we're pleased to highlight a series of side events scheduled today between 12:45 and 1:45. We encourage all delegates to participate and engage in these valuable sessions. The side events scheduled are as follows. In Meeting Room A, Cause of Death Statistics in the Era of the 11th Revision of the International Classification of Diseases, organized by the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, Japan. In Meeting Room G, Electronic Medical Death Certification and Medical Certification of Causes of Death Audit the digital duo, driving cause of death accuracy in Thai hospitals, organized by the Strategy and Planning Division, Ministry of Public Health, Thailand. In meeting room H, digitalization and innovation in civil registration and vital statistics towards the 2030 agenda, organized by the National Registration Department, Ministry of Home Affairs Malaysia, and Department of Statistics Malaysia. And in meeting room F, recognizing rights, realizing choices, the role of CRVS in advancing gender equality, and the Asia-Pacific launch of the 2025 State of the World Population Report, organized by the Asia-Pacific Regional Office of the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. You can find more information about each side event on the conference website or through the QR code shown on the screen. And while you're on the break, we also encourage you to visit the exhibition space where our partners are showcasing their work. And that's a great opportunity to explore, connect, and capture a few photos along the way. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we're also pleased to inform you that 3 ministerial roundtables will be held in parallel this afternoon from 3:45 to 5 p.m. And these are open to all delegates, not just ministers. So they're from 3:45 to 5 p.m. today. And first is the roundtable on harnessing the health sector to close birth and death registration gaps. This roundtable will explore country experiences and innovations that integrate health and CRVS systems to improve coverage, data quality, and service continuity, especially in fragile and underserved contexts. This will take place in meeting room H. Secondly, we have the roundtable on legal identity as a catalyst for good governance and inclusive services. This roundtable will reflect on progress, share innovations, and chart a path forward to ensure that every person is counted, recognized, and empowered. And it will be held in meeting room G. And thirdly, we have the roundtable on securing sustainable investment for the digital future of CRVS. This roundtable aims to strengthen political commitment and share national experiences in financing digital and inclusive CRVS systems. It will explore sustainable funding strategies, regional collaboration, and the broader social and economic benefits of investing in CRVS digitalization. And this will take place in meeting room A. All of the meeting rooms are on level 1 of the UN Conference Center, and I said they're open to all delegates to participate in any of those. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I'm also pleased to inform you that after the conclusion of this afternoon's ministerial roundtables, you're warmly invited to a reception hosted by the World Bank. And the reception is again open to all delegates and will take place at the Centara Life Hotel, Pranakon. Further information will be shared during the ministerial roundtables, and you can also see it displayed on the screen with the QR code. And we encourage you to participate in the side events as well as the ministerial roundtables and this evening at the reception. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. With this, we conclude the senior officials segment. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, for tomorrow, Thursday, 26th of June, we shall reconvene at 9 a.m. for the start of the ministerial segment. This important session will feature high-level speakers and dignitaries. All delegates are kindly requested to arrive at least 15 minutes prior to the start to ensure a smooth and timely opening of the event.